Hello, and welcome to this NTFP News Channel Zero live and very special presentation. I'm Seth Hudson, and today we'll be hearing from one of patriotic Americans' favorite presidents, the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln. While he was assassinated in 1865, he still graciously agreed to reiterate his stance on the role of government in the lives of its constituents, which he apparently believes still stands applicable even as the industrial age fades and the technological age comes into maturity. I am hearing he is now taking the stage for his speech, and we'll go live now to that event. Hello, and thank you for your showing.
Mr. President, can you answer one question about whether you believe it is right and pertinent that American citizens give millions, if not billions, of their personal dollars to right the wrongs of the slave trade in the U.S. as reparations?
I'm very sorry, but I am here only for a short period, and am not able to spend time answering retarded questions. If you would kindly sit down and shut up, I would like to reiterate my prepared speech, as it were. Thank you for your fervency, though, however befuddled. Now, the legitimate object of government is to do for a community of people whatever they need to have done, but cannot do at all, or cannot so well do for themselves, in their separate and individual capacities. In all that the people can individually do as well for themselves, government ought not to interfere. The desirable things which the individuals of a people cannot do, or cannot well do, for themselves, fall into two classes: those which have relation to wrongs, and those which have not. Each of these branch off into an infinite variety of subdivisions. The first, that in relation to wrongs, embrace all crimes, misdemeanors, and non-performance of contracts. The other embraces all which, in its nature and without wrong, requires combined action, as public roads and highways, public schools, charities, pauperism, orphanage, estates of the deceased, and the machinery of government itself. From this it appears that if all men were just, there still would be some, though not so much, need of government. Government is a combination of the people of a country to effect certain objects by joint effort. The best framed and best administered governments are necessarily expensive, while by errors in frame and maladministration, most of them are more onerous than they need be, and some of them very oppressive. Why, then, should we have government? Why not each individual take to himself the whole fruit of his labor, without having any of it taxed away, in services, corn, or money? Why not take just so much land as he can cultivate with his own hands, without buying it of anyone? The legitimate object of government is to do for the people what needs to be done, but which they cannot, by individual effort, do at all, or do so well for themselves. There are many such things. Some of them exist independently of the injustice in the world, making and maintaining roads, bridges, and the like, providing for the helpless, young, and afflicted. Common schools, and disposing of deceased men's property, are instances. But a far larger class of objects spring up from the injustice of men. If one people will make war upon another, it is a necessity with that other to unite and cooperate for defense. Hence the military department. If some men will kill, or beat, or constrain others, or despoil them of property by force, fraud, or non-compliance with contracts, it is a common object with peaceful and just men to prevent it. Hence the criminal and civil departments. And there you have it. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. While someone before this event told me I should drop a mic, I'm not sure what that means, and I don't know why I would find the need to drop this mic person anyway. I've been through that myself, and it's not something I would recommend to anyone. Good evening. Wow! Such a historic event surrounding the 16th President of the United States of America. I have personally never heard that speech, apparently originally written in 1854. I guess every day is a good day to learn. Thanks for joining us at NTFP News Channel Zero for this extraordinary event, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for the Breakfast with Anorexics show. Good night to all.
Welcome to Casual Reality. I'm your host, Seth Hudson. I know, it's been a while. I've got a lot of things going on. In addition to resolving my episode format to be more workable with my schedule, there are some relatively big life changes in the works. Some repairs to my HVAC and automobiles, and well, that's how it goes. However, I thought it pertinent to take pause on my other important responsibilities to discuss some things I've been mulling over in the last few hours. As anyone paying a modicum of attention knows, former President Trump received an attempted assassination. That's on Saturday the 13th, a little after 6 p.m. Many people are saying Trump is lucky. Many others are expressing remorse. The shooter didn't accomplish his objective. Personally, I thank God Trump is still with us. If you don't, you do not understand the upheaval that would have likely been caused by the alternative.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold on, your head is bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down.
Watch out.
Wait.
I will speak clearly, definitionally, as there are people like the current President Joe Biden that have said it's being investigated as to whether it was an assassination attempt or not, which might be a discussion had a bullet not actually hit Trump's ear. I mean, investigation over. It was an attempted assassination. I just saved you taxpayer money. You're welcome. However, there does indeed need to be investigations as to why this kid with a rifle, which it was a rifle, albeit initial reports were of it being a pistol, who was seen crawling into position on one of the two local building roofs, was first able to get to a high ground position, even outside the established Secret Service perimeter, and second, why there wasn't some sort of posted officer on said roof, as there were two snipers on the only other roof in the vicinity. The one thing everyone understands, be it for security or war, is that you want to have, or at least secure, the high ground. The discussion of the alleged policy of the SS, or Secret Service, which is to not take shots against potential threats without someone first shooting at a high-value target, who is, in this case, Donald Trump, is a next step matter. In addition to the fact that there were tiny and apparently untrained women assigned to bodyguard Trump. One of the things I noted myself was the fact that especially the women SS agents appeared to be dysfunctional, confused, and too small to even cover Trump properly. For the most part, the point of the SS protectors is to literally shield the high-value targets with their own bodies. It's what they're paid to do. And one would hope, what they are trained to do. Why are there 150-pound, 5-foot, 6-inch chicks trying to bodyguard a 6-foot-something, 250-plus target? They're only partially covering the mark, which is completely pointless. If you noticed, should you be able to stand watching the video clips, there are male SS agents not only covering the former president, but also putting their hands up around his head. That, of course, is not to stop potential bullets, but to shield him from cameras and to take away line of sight for a more precise targeting from the shooter or other shooters. A hand isn't going to stop a bullet, but it will cause a shooter to not have a clear sight picture. All that being said, my point here is actually not the failures of the SS, local police, or whatever other security breach issues there were. My agenda here is to put forth that they tried to assassinate Donald Trump. What I mean by that statement, and what the reaction of people within this reality should be. They tried to assassinate Donald Trump sounds rhetorical. At first glance, it might come off as I am blaming a party, an organization, or maybe a specific group of people who are known to not like Trump. That's not what I'm saying, actually. What I mean by that is the people, any people on all sides, that are constantly yammering about this person or that person being Hitler, wanting to end democracy as we know it, or chattering about people wanting to take your rights away regarding whatever. Although they may have a valid point, they may. It often is the case they are tugging at emotional heartstrings to try and bring you into agreeing with them. Many attempt to enrage you, instill fear within you, direct violence, while in the same breath saying they are against violence. That is the problem. The they here is not specifically anyone in particular, but those who would incite you. They are the same people who not only allowed, but encouraged violence in the city streets during the George Floyd, Antifa, and BLM riots. The burnings, the death, the lootings. Some of them then went and paid bail to get the criminals out of jail. They are the betters than you, like Madonna, Johnny Depp, Bob De Niro, Kathy Griffin, and others, all of which either hinted at or directly threatened Donald Trump at one point or another. They are the ones constantly saying our country is over, and Trump or other opponents will kill you, rape your women and children, take away every God-given right you've ever had. And of course, those who are constantly repeating, "Actually Hitler." They are the denouncers of Christian nationalism, which is a side-item way of showing distaste in Christianity, and those who even have a slight respect or liking for the U.S. as a nation. This not being a surprise, as those same people often denounce Christian values, seethe at Israel for daring to return and live in the land that was theirs before, and openly hate this country and their fellow man. I've actually noticed also on X, for example, there are people who are denouncing Christians for saying things like, "Thank God Trump shifted his head. Trump did not take a bullet." And they respond that way because they're saying you can't be a good Christian if you're fine with Trump dodging a bullet, but someone in the crowd taking a bullet while he was trying to protect his family. I, of course, would say otherwise, because that not only makes that man a martyr, in some respect, but also makes him an example as to what you, as a man, should be able to or ready to do for your family. If you can't do that, you probably should rethink your entire mentality, because it's not something you just do directly off a cuff. You're not just magically a hero. This is a forethought. This is an understanding as to what you would do in a certain situation and what you would need to do should that situation arise. Some people I know are telling me to clean my rifle and ready up. And while I agree that we should always be readied for defending ourselves, one's family, or property from assailants and invaders, it is often the case that simply controlling yourself, knowing the information you need to, and being firm in your beliefs, or at least understanding what's going on around you, is a massive remedy to a lot of what ails you, and those in your sphere. There are those who not only want you numb, indifferent, or trained in being oblivious, but also sheepishly follow at their behest. As an example of this, a friend of mine and I were watching this Pennsylvania Trump rally when everything hit the fan. We saw him grab his ear on camera and immediately recognize gunfire. I went and turned off the music overhead at work and turned up the TV reporting so we could listen to the audio. This is, after all, a huge historical event. Were we witnessing another JFK assassination? Turns out, fortunately, no.
So while we were watching this unfold, and reporters started to speculate and bring in experts to theorize before anyone really knew what was happening, another customer walked in, sat down, ordered something to drink, and just sat there oscillating between a basketball game on one TV and this attempted assassination reporting on the other. Someone came and joined this new customer, and they chatted idly together while still mildly observing both TVs. But after about 30 minutes of audible reporting from the TV, a consistent video and still picture cycling of Trump with blood on his ear and face, with security and massive amounts of weaponry running back and forth across the screen, in addition to my friend and I theorizing aloud on what was happening and what caliber was used, from what direction the shots came from, kind of suddenly this customer loudly asked, wait, what's going on now? And upon our answering the question and explaining what was already all over the TV and being said aloud through the speakers, proceeded to become noticeably unsettled and disbelieving of what they were hearing, stating in shock that it could not be true, and how could this have possibly happened? So a person sat for around 30 minutes, paying so little attention to a reporter's loud exclamations about an attempted assassination against this election cycle's frontrunner, completely oblivious or desensitized to someone with blood on their face on the TV, and massive amounts of armaments running amok on scene, without recognizing that history was slapping them in the face and they weren't registering the importance of the moment. This is why we have problems. No one is paying attention. Even if they kind of do, the attention span is almost down to seconds now. And when they finally do, as this person did, when they catch the drift, they react with an emotional explosion of disbelief, horror that this could possibly have happened. And not to toot my own horn too loudly, but I have been telling people for months, when questioned about the election and politics in general, discussions on Trump and Biden and all that jazz, that it was my sense, if there wasn't an attempt on Trump's life, I would actually be surprised. That is how virulent the rhetoric has been. It doesn't seem many were listening or at least acknowledging what I was saying. So many are surprised at the recent turn of events. This is because there are entirely too many pushing the emotional coercion of, this will be the last election, or Trumpo is literally a dictator, or whatever crat. And he will end all your rights as you know them to be, or whatever I just said. Yeah, which, to amend that thought, most people have no idea what their rights actually are, or more so what they should be. That's only partially relevant here, though, I suppose. The main thing is people are constantly told that emotions are great. You should always listen and follow your emotions because that is for your emotional wellness and health. That is actually exactly opposite of what it should be. If you want to be manipulated, always go with your emotions. There's always someone looking to use them for their own ends. Therefore, in the case of this Trump assassination attempt, as it's always possible there are more in the future, and of course now that he's announced J.D. Vance as his vice, it's unlikely, but that kind of puts J.D. within the targets also. Still, one should take a stoic approach to everything that is being told to you. Is this person telling you information or quietly trying to rile you up over something? Are they trying to educate and help you? Or are they manipulating you into thinking that many of our leaders aren't clowns who were recently extricated from their tiny but colorful cars? Or that they aren't geriatric power mongers trying to force their will down your throat and make a truck ton of backdoor monies at the same time as they siphon your hard-earned dollars off for their own agenda? To me, the proper response here is prayer, calm, thought, preparedness, and willful intent. Keeping your wits and not reacting with violence or rage, or lashing out emotionally over an attempted assassination of a former and future president. Firmness, truth, understanding, and faith will be your fortitude. That should be fairly clear, as the most of those, faith, is something severely lacking, and as you'll notice, there's very little fortitude. Many think that knowing even the lightest amount of information regarding the machinations of the world and those around you will make you anxious and drive you mad. While in reality, understanding what and why things are happening will actually give you calm, as you will no longer be in the corner, rocking back and forth, questioning everything. The games being played to keep you in the dark can only be won by you if you set an objective to not keep yourself there. I believe I would be remiss, though, if I did not denote that this is not a call for passiveness. This is a reminder for peacefulness. Weakness and impotence is not a cure for problems. It only exacerbates them. To be passive is to choose neutrality, to require of yourself that no matter the circumstances, you let happen whatever may come without activity or participation. But if there is a pushback, you just affirm whatever else is presented to you. Peacefulness is choosing to control your capability of violence. Wanting for not having to defend yourself, your family, your community, but having the understanding that throughout history, that has come to necessity on occasion. Having the power, but choosing not to use it, save when absolutely necessary. On that notation, if you don't have one, I recommend you get yourself a gun and sufficient ammo. Guns are tools, and you never know when a tool will come in handy. And lastly, while I will not advocate mail-in voting, I do recommend early voting, especially if you may not be able to get to the polls on election day. I myself did it recently at the local library, and it was the exact same setup as the standard polls. You didn't have to rely on any disgruntled USPS members accidentally losing a box of ballots in a ditch somewhere, for example. At the least, if you do so, please know something about who you are voting for, that you didn't get off one of the mailer cards flooding your mailbox throughout the season. That's about it for this episode. So I hope to be doing more episodes in the future. If you like what you heard today, follow me on X under @CasualRShow, under Spotify podcasts @CasualReality, and I'm still uploading to YouTube and Rumble when YouTube is not banning half my stuff. I've also upgraded my microphone stabilization and filtration recently. Filtration. Doesn't help my speech much, and hope those efforts are reflected in the quality of my audio. If so, you're welcome. Thanks for listening to this episode of Casual Reality, and talk to you later. Casual Reality is a production of Casual Media, LLC, copyright 2024.